everyone, a very warm welcome to my channel, Booked Line and Sinker. Well, it's been a crazy weekend. I'm really sorry for not filming and putting up anything yesterday because I was traveling. And it's just been a crazy weekend. But here I am finally in Mumbai and I'm gonna do my August wrap up in this video. So this month, the last month, I read 7 books and I am midway through 3 books. And I'm gonna talk about all of them. If you're new here, I'm Nimisha. I'm a voice artist and a book lover. And on this channel, I do videos on book recommendations, reviews, reading tips, author specials. So if that is the kind of content you love, then please do give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Well, let's get down to it. The first book I want to talk about is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Now, Cheryl Strayed walked across the Pacific Crest Trail, which is in the US, and it is a trail starting from Mexico up until the Canadian border, and she walked about 100 miles over a span of about 3 months, I think. And this is the story of her experience. Now, Cheryl went through a very difficult patch after she lost her mother, and then she went through a divorce as well. So when she started off this walk, she was in a very confused and depressed state of mind, and she did not know what to expect from this journey. But then over the span of those 3 months, walking through the wilderness, she found her center, found her sense of peace. The narration moves from past to present, from her life to her walk on the trail itself, and the transition is seamless. It's beautifully written. Her experiences and the relatability to those experiences is very raw, very real. So this is a memoir, definitely worth reading. I would rate it 4 stars. It's really good. Another book that I read was Milk Teeth by Amrita Mahale. Well, I had just done a video a couple of weeks ago on Indian women authors, contemporary Indian women authors to reckon with. And at that time, I had not read Milk Teeth. I was kind of midway through it, but I had not finished the book, so I didn't feel that I was in a position to talk about it at that point in time. And now that I've finished this book, I will definitely say that I would like to add Amrita Mahale to this list of contemporary Indian women authors to reckon with. The story has 3 main characters, Ira, Kes, and Karthik, and it is about them as individuals, their growth as individuals, and their perceptions, as middle class and upper middle class individuals. The book comments on a lot of topics. Social structure in India, talks about Mumbai as a city, largely because the book is based in Mumbai in the 1990s, and the issues which the city was grappling with then and which it is still grappling with today, where roads and rain and potholes and corruption form the underbelly of the city. And Amrita Mahale highlights those issues beautifully. What I loved about this book more than anything was the characters which she has developed. Ira, her mother, a typical Brahmin Konkani household. The difference in thinking between a person who's born and brought up in a small suburb like Matunga and that of a person who's born in Malabar Hill. These intricate nuances have been beautifully highlighted in this book. Also, Amrita brings in, the 1992 riots, which really shook the foundations of the city. Even though she touches very briefly on it, she does highlight the difference in perceptions which these riots brought about in the minds of Hindus versus Muslims. I'd heard really good things about this book, and I'm really glad I finally got down to reading it. I'm going to give this book a 4 stars. It's a fab read. The next book that I read was Such a Fun Age by Kiley Ried. Now, this book has been longlisted for the Booker Prize last month, and it's been getting rave reviews. I was very excited to read it. It is about performance allyship. Now, I did not know what that term meant. It means when non-marginalized community tries to pretend solidarity with a marginalized community in a manner in which that it is not very helpful towards that marginalized community. All in all, this book is about black-white relations. The story is about the relationship between this white woman in Philadelphia from an upper middle class family who hires a black nanny to take care of her young daughter. And an incident happens in which the black nanny is accused of kidnapping the young girl in a grocery store and what that leads into. It's about social standing, employee-employer relationships, and black-white dynamics, and how so many times white people pretend to show solidarity and empathy with blacks and their issues, to project an image about themselves, about how broad-minded and open-minded they are, whereas in their heart of hearts they feel differently, or they don't have any genuineness in their behavior. While the issue this book deals with was quite unique in my mind, considering most books have been written about solely black issues where blacks are being, ostracized on slavery and racism and stuff. Over here, it was a very different angle, and which is what I found very interesting about the story. The writing per se did not capture me. It's very, very American and slangish at some places, very black. The setting is very recent, very new. It's very current day. I would still say it's one to give you a very unique perspective on black-white relations. So if that is something which you want to explore further, it's worth a read. I'd give this book a 3.5 stars. The next book that I read was The Girl with Seven Names by Hyeonseo. I have spoken about it and done a detailed review of this book, and I'm going to link that above. So check that out if you want to know in full detail. Briefly, this is the story of Hyeonseo, who escaped from North Korea into South Korea via China, and how she made that move. It is about North Korea as a country, and it gives you an insight into a very closed communist society. Also, the struggles which she went through as an illegal immigrant in China, and how she finally made it to South Korea, where she was able to, embrace herself and actually talk about her journey. This is a fantastic, thrilling, true story, which is going to shock you with the kind of unbelievable, unimaginable things which this young girl has had to go through. I'd give this book a 5 stars. It's definitely a memoir worth reading. The next book I want to talk about is The Girl in White Cotton by Avni Doshi. This book has also been longlisted for the Booker Prize. I also mentioned it in my previous video where I've spoken about Indian contemporary writers to reckon with. It's a dark story of a relationship between a mother and a daughter, and the complexity of their relationship and how it kind of impacts her as an individual. And the darkness of her mother kind of seeps into her own soul as well in some ways. And there is love, but there is a lot of hatred also. This book is a slow read. It takes time to kind of get under your skin. So be patient with it. I give this book 4 stars. The other book that I read was The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I have mentioned this earlier in another review, which is linked above. Briefly about the story, it's about a young girl called Lakshmi in the 1950s, and how she leaves her husband, moves to Jaipur, and lives amongst the rich and the famous of that time, the Maharajas and the upper middle class individuals and women. And then her younger sister Radha comes into her life, and how that completely transforms things for her. The book is about women and gender issues, and what were the restrictions which existed between different social classes at that time. It's a beautifully, colorfully written book. I really enjoyed reading this one. I'm going to give this a 3.5 stars. Another book that I finished was Sohail Dev by Amish Tripathi. Now, I have done a full review of this book and I've linked that above if you want to check it out. Briefly, it's about the battle between Sohail Dev and Muhammad of Ghazni, and it's a historical fiction book based in India. In typical Amish style, it is very pacey, full of masala, and it'll give you a lot of insights into the history of the country, battle, war, war tactics, and also about society at that time. It's an interesting read. I would give this book a 3.5 stars. These are the books that I finished in the month of August, and I briefly want to touch about the ones that I'm midway through right now. One is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This I'm listening to as an audiobook, and it's really captured me. It's a motivational book. Now, David Goggins was a part of the US Army, and he's considered as one of the world's top endurance athletes. And the audiobook is even more interesting because it's interspersed with an actual interview of him. So it's being read by a voice artist, but in the middle, the artist is also talking to the real David Goggins. So the insights are many-fold. The other two books that I am midway through are Palace of Illusions by Chitra Banerjee Devakarni, and the other one is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is also super duper interesting. And I'll be talking about them, next month, as soon as they're done. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Drop me a line and let me know about which were the books that you read in the month of August. And if you read any of the books that I've spoken about today, I'd love to hear from you. I've got the list in the description box below if you want to check them out once more. And of course, please do give me a like. It gives me more visibility on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications because I take out new videos every week and you don't want to miss them. Well, until the next book, bye-bye!